Okay, I'm making a bonus video for you guys today because I feel that I need to dig into this one a little more now that I think about it. I'm going to talk about domestic terrorism in America. I'm not talking about Islamic terror, I'm talking about domestic terrorism. So, America's got quite a bit of internal domestic terrorism in addition to Islamic terrorism. And we'll go into the first group that is domestic terror, and that is Antifa. And Antifa, I remember when I was a part of Black Lives Matter, Antifa would come to the Black Lives Matter rallies. That's the thing. Antifa goes into liberal movements, and when Antifa goes into liberal movements, they go out there, yeah, they got their black masks, and they do their little black block and all that, but Antifa goes into liberal movements and promotes itself through the movement. It tries to recruit people from within the liberal movements, and with Antifa knowing that the liberal movements are trying to claim nonviolence, he knows that there will be some violence within the liberal movement. So with that being said, if Antifa goes into a liberal protest group such as a feminist march, Black Lives Matter, which is also a domestic terrorist group, by the way. But if Antifa goes to a Black Lives Matter rally and proceeds to get violent, they can blame Black Lives Matter. And yes, I am intentionally saying Black Lies, because that's all a group is. It was founded on a lie, and everything they're saying is a lie pretty much. But Antifa benefits from it, by that they can use them as a scapegoat instead of themselves. Antifa uses violence. They won't kill. They won't cross the kill line. They haven't done that yet. But Antifa is a domestic terror group. Now we're going to look at the other domestic terror group in America I want to talk about. And that's Black Lives Matter. The fact that Black Lives Matter is not considered a domestic terror group at this point is ridiculous. Let's look at the things they've done. Look at the rhetoric they preach. They preach fear. They use fear-mongering tactics, which would come from them burning things down, looting, and being violent. So Black Lives Matter uses fear-mongering tactics first and foremost. In addition to the fear-mongering tactics used by them, let's look into one of their influences. This is a great example of why they would be domestic terror. One of the bigger influences is named Assata Shakur. Now, that's actually where one of their quotes comes from. When Black Lives Matter says, "We have nothing to lose but our chains," that was actually a quote from Assata Shakur. Assata Shakur was a domestic terrorist during the civil rights time period and post-civil rights movement. She is a convicted cop killer who is still currently who went to prison. Let's say that. She went to prison. She was convicted of being a cop killer, went to prison, escaped from prison, and seeked asylum and got it out in Cuba. And she is currently residing in Cuba. If you don't believe me, you can look into this. You can actually just Google the name Assata Shakur. But Assata is a political refugee in Cuba right now that is receiving asylum. Now let's talk about the fact that she was a convicted cop killer and she fled the country after escaping prison. This is an influence to Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is using quotes of hers, and they're basing a lot of their movement on Assata Shakur. In terms of how much of a terror she is, this woman is on the FBI's most wanted list. There is a $2 million bounty on her head for her capture. She has been wanted, and she has been a wanted fugitive since 1977. So for 30 years now, she's been a wanted fugitive, and this is who Black Lives Matter is taking quotes from to further their agenda. With that being said, that would mean that essentially Black Lives Matter is founded on quotes from a domestic terrorist. They use domestic terrorist tactics such as looting, burning things down, fear-mongering, saying that they're going to shut things down if they don't get it. They're blocking freeways, which it's ridiculous. Okay, if you're going to block, okay, they're blocking freeways. When I was with Black Lives Matter, they told me why they were doing that, and it was talked about because they would talk about it after they did it. Whenever they blocked a freeway, they said that it caused a lot of economic stress on the city, and it caused economic stress. And by causing the economic stress, that's perfect, because they cause the economic stress, and people have to crack and give them what they want because of how much money it's costing everyone. When you consider that as they're using that, and then what they do is whenever we were marching, they would do a march and they would say, this works to our benefit because we can go pretty much wherever we want to go to do our protest or whatever we want to do. And instinctively, they're going to try to prevent us from getting to the freeway, or they're going to think that we're going to the freeway to block that, which would allow Black Lives Matter to be able to run a little more rampant if they do things, because the police are thinking they're going to go to the freeway. So it's a psychological fear-mongering tactic in and of itself to get into people's heads. With the violence that's been committed by Black Lives Matter, that's terrorism. That's not just violent, that's not just rioting. They're using violent rioting to cause terror. So there we go. Black Lives Matter is a terrorist group that is not being classified as a terrorist group. And Antifa is also a terrorist group, not being classified as a terrorist group, that hides within the liberal protest movements. With that being said, we've uncovered Black Lives Matter is terrorism. Antifa is terrorism. And I urge each and every one of you guys to do your research on it and learn the truth about these terrorist groups in America like Black Lives Matter. Thank you. Have a nice day. Divisive Legend out. Real news, talk, peace.